folks. Welcome to the next edition of Serverless Craic. How are we getting on? Dark and cold?
Pretty good.
All right, dark nights setting in now. Yep. Heater's on.
Reason I'm not mentally ready for winter.
Have you got your tree up yet?
Jesus, don't
No,
start.
no, not
Not
yet.
December yet. Um, right. So we're still going through the book, The Value Flywheel Effect. We're on chapter 18, which is in phase 4 of the flywheel, long-term value. And chapter 18 is called Sustainability and Space for Innovation. It's kind of a funky chapter. I certainly, I think there's two concepts we kind of put together here. Um, and one thing that I think always annoyed me is there was a very traditional thought about IT that will be optimized, more efficient, like squeeze, squeeze, squeeze,
Yeah.
and reduce, reduce, reduce. And I always thought that that was just stupid. Um, if you improve technology, then it acts as like a real growth. And there's lots of concepts around that that's actually almost the complete flip of traditional IT. It's not about it's the garden over the factory
Mm.
analogy. And I thought there was a nice thing about space for innovation, what that means, the space to innovate, and then how sustainability links in.
Yeah.
I thought it was I still totally believe in that concept.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's trying to combat that short-term thinking sort of mindset and culture that we see in some orgs, right? It's trying to think about
Mm.
what is, and we talk about this in clarity of purpose and the first section of the flywheel around making sure you know what your North Star is and making sure you have a strategic direction. This is around creating some space and creating some thinking time to actually try to grow, try to innovate,
Mm.
try out some new things so that you can actually start to adopt them again when you can do the next turn of the flywheel.
And even I mean, and I think there's been a massive misunderstanding in general about this because people are talking about the Toyota, just to diverge for a second, the Toyota production system and lean, and everything has to be lean. And lean is like it's a fascinating concept, but you use that Toyota production system when there's something that you know how to make. It's like a commodity, and you just need to make it faster and better. And that's fine for commodity stuff, but there's a different piece to their innovation system,
Yep.
which they use to build like value things and explore. It's completely different. But everyone thought, oh, Toyota lean, just make everything. Let's innovate with lean. And that's completely wrong. You know what I mean? So it's almost they read half the book and thought, okay, we have it figured out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We would talk about this quite a bit, and I know Simon Wardley talked about this quite a lot about just having situational awareness and having the ability to apply the correct methodology for the right context you're in. Right. So I think some of this is it's not just one size fits all. It's not just, hey, we're
No.
just gonna be very lean about this stuff, right? And make sure every sprint is story pointed and all times allocated for. That's okay when everything's well known and well defined and
Hmm.
repetitive. But when you're trying to innovate, you don't know any of those things. So you have to apply a different methodology to that context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that we start off with is again one of Simon's ideas that ILC.
Yep.
Innovate using the innovate, leverage, and commoditize cycle. Which is, I mean, it's as old as the hills, but it's still really powerful. That you'll innovate, come up with this brand new thing using, very whatever out there discovery. You'll leverage it, you'll scale it, then you commoditize it, and then you'll innovate, built on that commoditization. So it's kind of like stepping stones, but you keep going in and out from that circle. And a good team should be able to do all three. It's just a different way of working. And we've all done this,
Yep.
but it's you can't. It's such a good model, but people don't understand it. You often see people coming in from other companies where they've only ever been in commoditize, and maybe you're in an innovation phase, and they try and take all the commoditization practices in the innovation team, and it
Mm.
fails miserably, and vice versa.
Mm.
Somebody tries to do design thinking and production support. You're just like, no.
And it can be quite easy to get wedded to the phase that you're in. Oh, we're in innovation phase, but you've been doing it for like a year and a half. It's like,
Yeah.
no, it's settled down now. it's moved into more of a product or more of a commodity space. So
They're
different
scaling.
methodologies and different patterns and processes
Yeah.
apply. But you get, and I think we've written it down here, it's what difficult second album. I
Yeah.
think is what's written there, right? It's like you get wedded to the things that you, oh yeah, I love this capability of this tool, and we've innovated it, we've done all this stuff. It's like sometimes you just gotta step back and let go a little bit and realize the context has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it so much, and again, there's lots of different dimensions and flavors of this that happen in companies, and it's one of the hardest questions to answer. Like, at what point in that cycle do you think you're in? You know, like for example, you see an awful lot with orgs where internal teams will set themselves up as product teams and all. But instead of doing like an innovate, leverage, commoditize, where you'll start off with maybe like okay, well, we think we could do this, and this is kind of what our success measure would be, and then let's try it out. Let's try and get some users using it, and if they use it, great. We'll move to the next stage and we'll get adoption and we'll invest. But a lot of people some companies do it upside down. Where they start with the commoditization of a certain thing and tell people to use certain things or go down certain routes, and then you get all these fallacies and sunken cost fallacies, and before you know it, everyone gets frustrated, and we get in the belly. So that's one step.
I've definitely lived through that cycle where, hey, we're going to build this new platform for you, and we're going to give you all the features, and we haven't gone through the innovate or the leverage phase yet.
Yeah, commoditize, leverage, then innovate, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Or just platform.
100%.
Yeah. So it's a tricky one to get right. But
and again, speaking of platform, the second concept we brought on here was business domain discovery, which is the idea of domain-driven design. And I mean, the team topologies guys do this really, really well. Is you kind of analyze your business domains and try and figure out how that fits with your org. And there's loads of really nice techniques in domain-driven design. Which again, I think are such an important part of this, because if teams are set up wrong, they're bound to fail, So it's your organize around capabilities, not features or components.
Yeah. Even just doing that core domain mapping and understanding which ones are your actual core domains or which ones are supporting or which ones are just generic is a very valuable exercise to go through to figure out, well, have I got my people and my teams actually working on the things that are core to my business?
Yeah, it's knowing who your customer is there as well, right? Like who you actually writing the software for, who's actually using it. How do you measure success? Is it solving the actual problem you think it is? Like, are they happy? Are they? And I mean, can you wrap your head around the problem space? I mean, it all kind of falls down into that, right? It's such an enabler if you get that done right. For innovation.
And even
I would recommend now the second edition of Team Topology book just came out there a few weeks ago. They've added a whole load of stuff around some of the stuff.
Yeah, and some of the stuff's around. You can just get that domain capability off the shelf. Why are you building 5 teams around it? Those type of conversations are always very valuable to have.
Yeah.
And then kind of what builds upon that, and we'll just touch on it lightly, is if you've got good observability metrics, if you've good handle on those, you can assess where you are in that ILC cycle. You can see how well domains are performing. Maybe see if they're sort of set up incorrectly or correctly. So I mean, there's a different way of looking at success.
Yeah, it's very hard to have a feedback loop if you don't actually have observability or metrics. It's very hard to learn when you're blind to what's going on in the actual org. So like we talk about this a lot, but having good observability and good metrics is your sensing vehicle, right? They may be wrong, but at least you've got something to start with, and then you can iterate on them.
Well, like you think about like if you're not measuring your things, or like you don't understand what success is, how are you ever going to pivot? How actually are you ever going to innovate? Like how are you ever going to like justify sort of what you're doing? It's crazy though, but some teams still do go operate blindly.
Well, it's back to gut feel, right? It's back to gut feel and the charismatic leader.
So much.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things we get into. We talked about sort of evolving with your system and your people. I think if you have your team set up right, the right mindset, and your system set up right, and again we threw a few examples of a couple of famous ones like in music. Like Apple didn't invent the MP3 format. Apple iPhone didn't invent the touchscreen. There's a whole load of examples, but they knew there was almost the strategic landscape of where they were going. Be able to see something and implement it properly. So that's all about having the right mindset to you don't often have to invent the trend, you just have to leverage the trend.
Yep.
Potentially someone else does innovation, but you can do the leverage. And we called it a couple of sort of areas that that are important, I think, in setting this type of thing up. So we'll pass through them here. First one being resilience. I thought that was an interesting one to call out.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about that in the mapping sort of chapters quite a bit,
Yeah.
the ability to respond to threat and react to opportunity.
Yeah.
So again, the resilient system is, again, you've got most of your capacity invested in new or growth or, innovation. That means your operational excellence is low, it was good. You've got good domains. You kind of operate using these techniques. You're really clear about what your mission is and sort of what problems you're trying
And
to
what your IP is. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be very easy after an outage to say, oh, that thing failed on us. Let's outsource it. Like, no, that's your IP. Make that better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Outsource that other thing that you shouldn't be doing. So even that decision is
Yeah.
really important. I'd say that's part of like business resiliency, being very clear what you do and what you don't do.
Yep.
Yeah. 100%.
And then we have what else? Next, stability and security, kind of related in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this one's incredibly important, especially now when the advent of agentic AI and LLMs everywhere. If you don't have a secure and stable system, it's very hard to introduce something as complex and as potentially risky as some of these tools, right? So you have to have a good handle on your security and your stability of your systems before you start layering on all the AI on top, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we had adaptation next.
Well, this is really relevant to today, isn't it? With the
Just
emergence
thinking that.
of AI, right?
Yeah.
I know, Dave, you're doing a lot, and Mark, you guys are doing a lot around this at the minute. Like being able to kind of react to that. Like, I mean, AI is really attacking the lead times and the SDLCs today, right? So,
Yeah.
Again, you'll probably see, complete swing in that, and probably even new methodologies emerge in the next sort of in the immediate future.
And even what Agile started off being would flourish very well in this AI space.
Yep.
But AI kind of Agile took a funny turn where it became very locked down and probably worse than Waterfall ever was. So it's very interesting.
Some of this is down to your systems and your architecture as well. If you have really well-designed systems, really clear domain boundaries, really good APIs, really good events that you can then extend your system, you can rapidly adapt to whatever emerging need comes out. So, hey, we need to have a new agentic AI form capture system. Because you've well architected your system and you have really clear boundaries and domains and APIs, that's not a big adoption for you. That's not a big, massive, game-changing move for you. That's just another, input channel, right, to your system. So again, that you can architect your system to be more extensible and more adaptable to change. Your processes and practices are a different matter, but you can be truly agile with some of the stuff if you really do it.
I think that's over the book. Like we were. I think we talked about this in a few episodes back, but like the everything we talk about in that, in terms of, like, you think about it, like what the industry's been shifting left for, say, the last 20 years into the team, and it's just a continuance of that. Everything we've kind of talked about around, like, well architected domain driven design, serverless, good boundaries, it all enables this sort of thing, right? The evolution, like being able to kind of capitalize on a lot of the innovation, say, going on at the cloud providers. Like we're the week before reInvent, so God knows what AWS will kind of release this week into that space, and what you'll be playing about with here in a month's time. So 100%, you gotta be armed to evolve.
I have a feeling there's a lot. I have a feeling there's a lot coming down the pipe this year. We'll see.
Yeah, I remember vividly us having watching reInvent and seeing how quickly we could actually release a change into production, leveraging one of the newly announced services. I think we got down to like a day. So for some of the stuff. So that's you've built your system and your ecosystem to be truly adaptable, and you've got all your processes and practices and your approvals and your checks and balances and your quality gateways all automated, so that, hey, this new service has come out or this new feature has come out and your team's ready to put it into production like 10 minutes later.
Fine.
That's when you're truly adaptable.
100%.
Yeah, and that real agility, and just for clarification, agility is not having a very clear description of what a story point is. That's not agility. That's something else.
That's
Anyway,
agility theater.
agility
Yeah.
theater. Situational awareness was the next one, the final one. I mean this one is, I mean, we've done this to death. Like Simon Wardley always talked about situational awareness. It's a core principle of Wardley Mapping. I'd say build situational awareness, and then discuss it. And even like having discussed something, and to illustrate this, we did a little table. I won't go through it all, but I think it's interesting. Reactive thinking versus proactive thinking. And again, another one of my bugbears, this must have been a ranty chapter, um, is like how unhelpful reactive thinking is. You often see managers just reacting to what's happening. And sometimes you have to do that. But if your only play is reacting to what happened, you're finished. You need to be proactive and think ahead.
Yep.
How can we stop this outage? How can we create a good environment?
I experience it a lot. Like I would refer to it as guessing.
Yeah.
When you haven't got that situational awareness, or you haven't done the prep, or you haven't got data, really what you're doing is you're guessing.
Yeah.
And for me, that's a real frustrating kind of area to operate within, instead of kind of working with what you know.
Well, it's back to situational awareness.
Yeah.
Do you understand your value chain? Do you understand all the components within that value chain? So that you're well informed about, hey, we think we can do this because we know all the foundations and all the components that make up the thing that you're trying to deliver. That's well informed decision making.
Again, even like good situational awareness, even stuff like KPIs, understanding your business, working out the right KPI and saying, well, that's where it needs to be, not just like metrics being everywhere. Recognizing good execution when a team does something well, as opposed to helping someone put out a fire. Seeing a market opportunity, you know what I mean, where something's emerging and being able to act on it, creating a good environment for psychological safety, as opposed to just hoping it goes away. So much stuff here that again, I think is just good leadership, good situational awareness.
Even like we have in like frictionless developer experience, remove friction and cognitive load that is unseen. That pays back in spades if you do it right, but it's hard to get it recognized as being something that you should do.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, we know Nicole Forsgren just brought out a new book, Frictionless, which is brilliant. I bought it in Kindle on the day it launched, just like the Accelerate book. I'm flying through it. Love the structure of it. And she kind of described developer experiences, three things, see if I can remember them. Reduce cognitive load, improve feedback loops, and frictionless. Was frictionless developer experience or frictionless?
I think so.
I forgot. Cognitive load, feedback loops, remove friction. Yeah. It's three things. And I thought I really like the cognitive load piece. And again, I know the team topologies guys have done a lot in cognitive load. And I mean, sometimes cognitive load is something like a few different leaders just aren't aligned on what the plan is. That just creates confusion for engineers. For me, I would describe that as cognitive load as well.
100%. I think that's a huge one, actually, cognitive load. But then again, it's like, again, you get good domains, get good boundaries, clearly understand what your purpose is, your mission. There's a whole lot that goes into kind of really reducing that, right? There's even there's definitely a blog you wrote on the serverless developer, right? Where you kind of went into that as well. Actually, it's probably a good one to dig out on that.
Oh, was that the Serverless First Engineer one?
The Serverless First Engineer, and that's right. Remember, and we had
right. I think that was on the new stack. I think it was.
Yeah. So it's feedback loops, flow state, and cognitive load. That's the
flow state. That was it.
And that's a lot of like, do you have an environment for success? And once developers or teams are off doing work, leave them alone.
Yeah.
Crazy talk.
The crazy talk.
Get out of the way, right?
Very good. So then, so the last wee piece in this chapter. So again, just to refresh, so we talked about sort of space for what it means to create space for innovation. And again, it's not just optimize, 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 squeeze, 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 but creating things that will, let people really thrive. And then the next piece was sustainability. And this, I thought, like we're all big believers in this, like, and definitely with serverless first. The first kind of pass was like, finance is your measure for good software. If something's cheap, it's probably efficient. An even better way to think about that is sustainability. Like, what's your carbon footprint of your software? And it's, have a really efficient architecture and system is actually will be a very sustainable system. So I think that whole idea of green software is really getting big, like, and I think it's a fascinating topic.
Yeah, and there's been great advances in some of the metrics around this, and the new AWS launched last month more granular carbon scores for your workloads as well. But as a good proxy for that, we were saying serverless was a good proxy for a sustainable sort of workload and a cost-effective or efficient workload. So
Yeah.
that was a good
I mean,
proxy.
we've all seen teams who've stood up a huge machine and have it running 24/7, and you're just telling like, what? What are you doing? You know what I mean? He's just burning through cycles.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
good. At least now there's an actual measure for it. I never liked that. People just using kind of, compute resources excessively. It was always very stupid.
I think it'll come back around. I mean, I think in recent years, even with the current administration, I might want to get into politics. It's the whole sustainability conversation is kind of taking a wee bit of a
Yeah.
backseat. But I think it'll come back around. Like, I mean, I think most responsible organizations still are kind of prioritizing it, right? And it is good to see it as it's a pillar in the well-architected framework as well. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, there are better tools and better methodologies now coming along, which will help you understand this. But if you follow everything we've been talking about, serverless first, domain-driven design, well architected, you will probably have a pretty sustainable workload.
100%.
Yeah. So let's close out. This is a nice sentence here in the takeaways. A well-architected system is a sustainable, resilient, and easy to commoditize, and your people will be part of the evolutionary approach. Now you can create space for innovation and future value. I think that kind of sums it up. Well, two sentences, that sums it up quite well. You know what I mean? That you're not really well architecting just for the crack. You're actually working towards growth and innovation.
It's a lot more palatable when you're trying to create space for innovation if your systems aren't on fire.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you want people working on the right problems, right? They're the challenging ones. Building things that people use and building the right thing are the hard problems. They're the ones to be in. So put yourself in that position.
Good fun. So that's the crack then. So we'll leave it at that then. So give us a wee we'll leave it at that. Give us a wee like or follow on the Serverless Age on YouTube or on the serverlessage.com, and we'll see you next time for chapter 19.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye,
Cool.
everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.